fun.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Bodacity's Action Heroes Ask the Experts. Today we have the awesome and amazing Veronica Palin, and because we couldn't get the tech to work, she very kindly jumped in her vehicle and came down to join me. So I'm going to read you her introduction and her bio, and then she's going to jump on screen with us. That is, if I can get my computer to work so I can go and get her bio. Come on, it can do it. So we have, as you know, a bunch of experts in our community who have a variety of skills. And I'm really excited about what we're going to be talking about because it's an area that a lot of our members and a lot of people in business in general avoid. So it's going to be very valuable. So I really hope all of you all jump on so that we can talk about using the phone, cold calling, pre-sales, prospecting, all the wonderful things that you can do with the telephone and probably avoid like the plague. So let me tell you about Veronica. Since 1995, after completing her degree in French and business, interesting combination, Veronica discovered that she was really good at a job that other people hated, B2B telemarketing and lead generation for businesses. She was talented at it and knew there would always be a need and a niche for it in the marketplace, which is very true. She's an entrepreneur at heart, like her dad, so she wanted to start a business, and so this has been her passion and her life for 22 plus years. That's a lot of commitment. Cold Calling, her company, offers scripting, strategies, list targeting and sourcing, identifying ideal prospects, and then using the phone to do all sorts of things, set up appointments, do research, networking follow-up, and customer service calls, in addition to pre-sales and sales follow-up. So it's not just for sales. You can use the phone for a lot. She and her loyal team of experts introduce a prospect or client to you and the products and services you offer. But what she's noticed is that, for instance, they might generate a list of 100 leads for a coach or something like that, and then the client doesn't follow up. So now she coaches business owners on how to effectively use the phone with grace and ease. Veronica is committed to creating freedom for herself, her clients, and the world. So whether that she does that by teaching them how to make the phone your friend, or motorcycle racing, attending Burning Man every year, or dancing her butt off, she's all about connection, authentic expression, and communication. She can help you approach your prospects in a way that reflects your style, values, and achieves your goals. And she's really fun. So welcome, Veronica. Thank you for coming all the way down here. We're going to do this high-tech version of this interview and then just do that everyone. So everyone can see. Hi, welcome. I'm glad you're here.
I'm glad you're here.
Okay, no, that's not going to work. We need both of us. There. Okay. There. How's that? Is that better?
I don't know. I think we're going to be sitting on each other's lap here.
We'll just lean in. Hi.
Glad we're friends.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So
Thanks for having me.
Mm-hmm. And I think this is really, really valuable and important because most people hate calling, they hate sales and anything related to it. But the phone's not just for calling, right? So let's start off with the usual thing where people can get to know you a little bit more. So tell us, how many Burning Man have you been to?
I think I've been to four out of the last 7 years. 5 years, yeah.
And I know, because I've seen some of the outfits, you're very creative about the outfits and stuff that you do there. What are some other things that you do for fun or for hobbies besides dancing?
I play guitar.
Guitar, that's right, yeah.
Yes, and I love cooking.
Oh, that's right, yeah. Yeah, and she likes cleaning too.
Yeah, I like cleaning dishes and toilets. It's terrible. That would be another job I would like to do.
That's so funny. I love it, but it's just weird. Okay, and so tell me how you, so we said something in your intro about how you kind of stumbled on this. So it was a job that you were good at.
Right.
But tell me why this matters to you so much. Why do you do this work for 20 years? Because that's a long time to be doing this kind of work and to run a business in general. So why are you so passionate about this?
Well, when I finished my degree in business, they said, do a job that is a niche market. So when I had my son and I was nannying and I was at home and he was 2 years old, and I went, well, I seem to be good at this. Let's give it a go. So it was a bit of a toss up at the time. The other one was dump runs to, well, junk, 1-800-GOT-JUNK before they started, because I really like doing that too. So but this one was a little bit easier because I didn't have to rent trucks and
go outside and deal with heavy loads and so forth and so on. So, welcome. I think that's Sonia that's here. Yay. Hi,
Hi,
Sonia.
Sonia.
By all means, everybody, if you've got questions, just post them so that we can answer your questions in the chat as well.
I was going to ask you something.
Oh, okay.
If that's okay.
Sure.
I was going to say we were going to do this interview about real estate and
Yeah.
a realtor as well. And you had mentioned that your tribe wanted more cold calling coaching.
And
so I was going to ask, what kind of things they wanted or what came up in your group.
Part of why so as Veronica said, she sells real estate and sold my house, as a matter of fact, when I decided that I wanted to be officially homeless. And so
and free.
Yeah, exactly.
Clear, really free.
In theory.
Yes.
And that is the theory. It's actually mostly the experience as well. But part of what I know from a lot of clients is that they really struggle with anything to do with self-promotion, sales and marketing. And so one of the things that I talk to them a lot about is, okay, so we have to get better at it. So then we don't have this conscious incompetence, right? That's part of the resistance. Part of it is dealing with the internal noise that goes on in our heads about it. And part of it is that some of these things are things that you should delegate. That aren't part of
sometimes it's easier. So I could easily promote you as
Yeah.
a coach to a friend of mine.
Yeah.
And so I do run a business of, third party representing other people. I still think it's important that the owner knows how to promote themselves.
I agree
as a follow-up.
wholeheartedly. Yep.
But even, if someone was to promote my business, sometimes they can come across a little bit cleaner and less personal. So both are a good combo. Just depends what you need.
Exactly. And I know that there's so many people who have beliefs around, what I hear most often is, as the stories and excuses, I don't want to impose on people. I don't want to bother them. I don't want to be a pain in the butt. Okay, so those are bullshit, basically.
I'm really glad you brought that up.
Because
it's a really interesting attitude to shift.
Yeah.
When I pick up the phone and I'm calling you or I'm calling someone, it's not about me so much as it's about them, and why their first thought is, why are you calling me and why are you calling me now? As you know. And so the quicker we can convey what we want from the call to communicate it in a kind, effective, efficient way, the more likely to get the result. So obviously there's a courtesy element, a permission element, and this is what I'm calling about and I'd like to do this with you. Whatever that thing is, a phone call, a meeting, send an email, that kind of thing. So this idea of imposing has to be shifted to, well, there's a reason you're in business. There's a reason you're amazing at what you do. So to communicate that to parties that might not know not only what you do, but they might not know the need they have for what you do. So if they could use your service, their life is better. So it's less of an imposition as a service to really convey to them, this is what I do. You may not know if you need it or not. And that's what I want to have another conversation with you about, whether it's in coffee, in person for 20 minutes, on another phone call, in some other form. But let me show you what I think we can do with you if you're open to it. So one of the most important parts about calling is determining whether the recipient is open to it.
Cool.
To the next step. So that's
so how do you do that? What's one of the practical ways that because one of the first things is that's the top of their mind is, who are you and why are you calling me?
Right.
So what do you say when you call someone?
What do I say when I call someone? So I would love to have an example from a business so that I could be interactive with someone out there.
So have a reason to be calling. So Aura said, have a reason to be calling. And yep, it feels pushy. Okay. So
does anyone have a business I could promote so I could sort of play?
Okay. So Aura's a coach and she's got a tagline. I've got her email somewhere, but
what do you do, Aura?
Aura, what do you do? So if she was calling for you, what would you be saying or selling? So just type it in the chat here. And hopefully it will show up. Or Sonia, if you have something that you want to say as well.
Well, I'm around 3 business coaches, so I'll just be generic.
Okay. Yes.
So my name's Veronica Palin. I'm calling on behalf of Bodacity. Yeah. And I'm looking for the person who oversees your sales training. Okay. Or your operations manager. Is that you? No. Okay. So let's say I guess I want to play with you. Yeah. So pretend you're the gatekeeper. Okay. You're the person who answers the phone.
All right. Got it. Okay. So nope.
Hi.
Nope.
Hi, Jannette. My name is Veronica Palin. I'm calling on behalf of Jannette Anderson with Bodacity, and I'm looking for the person who oversees your sales training. I have the name of John Smith, but I'm just wondering if you could help me direct to the right person.
Yeah, John's the right guy, but he's not here right now.
Excellent. Do you know when a good time to reach him is, or do you mind if I send him an email?
Yeah, you can probably reach him at blah, 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 email address.
Excellent.
Or in most cases, they'll probably say, well, you'll probably have to call him back on Friday.
Okay. Well, I'll send you an email. Thanks.
Okay.
So that's a good example of a gatekeeper approach,
Right.
where we're asking them for assistance, telling them our intention quickly to know whether they're yes, no, maybe.
Yeah.
Let's try it again.
Okay.
And I get through to you. So you will be the operation manager.
All right.
Hi. It's Veronica. I understand that you're the operation manager for your company.
Yes, that's true.
I am calling on behalf of Jannette Anderson with Bodacity Action Heroes. And have I caught you at a good time?
Well,
Yeah.
actually, I'm just about to go into a meeting.
All right. Do you mind if we talk now for 10 minutes or not 10 seconds or 20 seconds, or do you want me to try another time?
Well, okay. Yeah, let's talk now.
Okay. Appreciate that.
But I've only got 2 minutes.
Got it. So what I'm calling for is to see if you have time in your schedule to meet with Jannette for 15 minutes to talk about how she can improve your bottom line by 10% in the next 2 weeks. I'm making this up because I don't have the content to the script.
Yeah.
I understand you might have used coaches in the past, but Jannette's amazing, and that's what I'm calling. I want to be able to connect you to. Would that be okay?
Well, who is she?
Well, you did tell me you didn't have much time, so I'm just going to ask, can I get your email address, and we can have this conversation a little bit later when there's a little more time for it.
Okay, sure.
Excellent.
All right. Okay, so that's cool, and it's a really valuable point there is to A, be really respectful of their time, B, to be really clear about the objective. And the objective is to get an appointment or to get some time with them or to connect the two people.
That's a great point. Often people want to sell the product on the phone, and it's too early for that. You haven't earned the right to do that yet. The phone call, the initial phone call, is like a resume to a job interview. It's just bringing enough of the sizzle. We're not talking about the steak. We're just talking about the sizzle and some of the benefits and some of the next step, just the next step. Okay. Whether that's an email, whether it's another phone call meeting or whatever. But we're not talking about everything in one call. Just the next step.
Okay, cool. And we've got quite a few comments here from Aura, so let's take a look at some of these. So she offers mindset and business strategy coaching. Yeah. And Aura, that's mostly for small business owners, right? I think I understand. And it sounds like it's easier to do when you're calling on your own behalf. Yes, and you can call for someone else. You can outsource that, absolutely. But it's good for you to be able to do on your own. So her question is, does this work for individuals or only when you call a business?
So when you say individuals, or
if you were calling another person,
yeah,
or like another coach or a small business owner or something that's not a business where there's a receptionist and a lot of people.
So if you're not, I don't understand what individual means.
Like if she was calling other solopreneurs,
right?
Yeah,
but they're people.
Yeah, but
not
not businesses, not a big business,
not
a big company.
Oh, absolutely. So I just want to understand, those individuals do run a business, or they are coaches, or
yes.
Okay.
Let's go with that for now. So they're individuals,
and
they're individuals,
we're calling them and
business people instead of big business people.
Yes.
Let's start
sorry
with
that it wasn't as clear to me, Aura. And yes, we do. There's a comment that was made about startups. That's what I saw.
Yeah.
I can't see it there.
It's up further, but so yes, you can use this. Is there a different language when you talk to solopreneurs or small business owners versus corporate or bigger business?
It's an interesting question. I'm almost tempted to say no. I guess I'd want to delve in that further before answering. So let's talk more, Aura. Okay.
Okay. Cool. And so I think it makes sense to me that, because when you do what you just did, basically it's pretty straightforward. It's here's who I am, here's what I'm calling for, and here's what's in it for you, essentially, right? I would think that would be the same whether the person works for a large company or for an individual.
I mean, there's a bit of a style shift, just like a gatekeeper conversation is a different conversation than a decision maker. Small business owner is a different one. That's why respecting their time is so critical.
Yeah.
Because in the past, when I started this over 20 years ago, I could call you, I would send a fax, then I would call you and we'd have a meeting. And now it's like phone you, send an email, phone you, phone you again. And when I mean phone you, I'm not always reaching you. Sometimes I'm getting someone else or leaving a message. So it's about 7 to 11 touches through different forms.
Wow.
Emails, phone. I actually love print.
Yeah.
Because print isn't done much anymore. So I
What do
strongly
you mean
recommend
by print?
sending something by mail to them.
So snail mail, yeah. Yeah, I love it because it's very unusual.
Well, it's not done anymore. So it's brilliant if you can, do it in conjunction with your marketing.
Yes.
I think one of the questions I saw was startup. I think it's a great idea for a startup for a couple of reasons. You get an immediate feedback loop of whether or not people want your service, need it, what they're using now for competition, and also whether or not telemarketing works for promoting your product. It's just one tool in the tool case. It might not be effective due to reachability, receptivity, that kind of thing. But for sure, you will find out research, especially in a startup.
Yeah. Well, and in your bio, we were reading there's so many different uses for the phone. It's not just pre-sales or setting up appointments.
Right.
It's also research, customer service follow-up. One of the things Veronica said when we were getting ready was, sometimes people give her a stack of cards from a trade show that they've attended, and they've got all these cards and they're supposed to follow up. And we know we never do. Look, look, I have a stack right here, and more elsewhere, right? I've got buckets of them that I never followed up on. Right. And so to give them to someone and say, here, promote this and invite them to an event or give them a lead magnet or something like that.
So let's say I was doing that with you.
Yeah.
I would say, so let's do that Tuesday afternoon from 1 to 4. You've got your stack. I'll do my stack at home, or we'll do it in the same space. Yeah. And let's call them and see how we do. So when you're sort of accountability buddy.
Yeah,
let's
exactly.
do it together.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
A real coach.
Yeah. And so you can do that with the accountability buddies that you're in masterminds with, or people that you're in business with, or business buddies, or hire a coach about that. Okay, so thanks, Dee. That's a very sweet comment.
I do want to mention something, comparing it to figure skating. I don't know how it seems to you in terms of the smoothness. Certainly it's very playful and free-flowing doing this with you. Figure skating looks really simple, easy, and smooth, and I promise you can do that for your business, calling people. I promise that can happen. And not without sometimes falling on one's butt, not without, flailing. So it's a process, and it's worthy of doing. If you got 1 or 2 new pieces of business from this, golden. Calling customers you've already had back as a customer service call, golden. As a referral, asking for referrals. There's so many ways to use the phone, and it's personal, it's intimate, it shows concern that you care. And I would love to see all of your businesses increase from that connection by phone and be part of that with you. So that's why I got into more one-to-one coaching with business owners. So
which is a
get on the phone,
valuable service. And part of the thing is that I find when I'm working with clients is a lot of it is just resistance to their resistance. So they tell themselves a story. Last night I was working with my roommate's son. He has a little TED talk to give, and he was so wound up about it's not going to be good, and I don't know how to do this, and I'm going to suck, and so forth, that he wouldn't just read it. Like, he wouldn't just do it. And then once he did, it was like, oh, hey, that's not so bad. Okay, now I can do this. Now I'll do it more, and then I can refine, and then I can learn, and then I can master. So some of it is just having someone literally sitting right there with you while you pick up the phone and do it. That's a really big service and a really valuable thing, because then once you get going, it's not so bad. It's not so hard. Okay, so we got a few questions. Do you leave a message if you don't connect in person?
It's a good question. Generally, I don't the first time. Today, I did a campaign for a company called Whipcord, and they do IT, data center storage, cloud management. And I got a hold of the IT manager's voicemail, and I left a message, because it's very hard to get a hold of the IT manager. So we'll see how that works. It can be done. It's almost better if it sounds a little rough, not polished. So I do help with script writing, and it's not intended to be perfect. It's intended to sound authentic and a little bit of and ah and pausing, so that they know you're leaving a message. You want to do business with them. So anyway, I say generally no, but if they're really hard to reach, why not? Why not?
Mm-hmm. Well, and I know I've worked with some other people who kind of work in this realm, and one of the things that you can do is use some humor as well. So if you left a couple of messages, say you can say something like, my mom told me not to be a nag, and so I don't want to be one, but you won't phone me back. So what's a girl to do, right? So you can have some fun with it too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And make it real.
Mm-hmm.
So. Or also had some question around the different language.
Yes. I'm not sure what you mean when you say different language.
If you're talking to different people or different types of groups,
yes.
right? Do you shift how you have those conversations?
Still need an example.
So, like, if you're talking to
process.
an IT, if you're doing a cold calling campaign into VPs of IT and corporations versus calling creative small business owners. So artists and
it's an interesting thing. I would say less of the industry type and more of where you're calling. So Pacific Coast, mm-hmm. whether it's California, BC, that would be more of an afternoon phone call. Let's not call these people at 10, okay? So the pacing of the call is a little slower. Alberta sounds like our accent, so it's I don't know how to call it. It's Fargo. So anyway, and most important when we're calling Eastern, so Toronto, New York, fast.
Bottom line.
If there's too slow of a time delay, you're wasting their time. So mm-hmm. so pace is more important than, and possibly some language choices. So I would say probably it's such a nuance to me that I can't say specifically, but really, we're talking to owners. We're usually talking about operation manager and owner of a small business. So they kind of speak a similar language. What do you need? What are you calling me for? What do you want?
Yeah.
So the quicker we can get to that point, the more they'll give us the time of day for what the message is. And most people don't know what they don't know. So when you're calling mm-hmm. them, it's not easy to craft what they might need, but the conversation of questions of, this is what we offer. Does that ever happen to you?
Mm-hmm.
This is what I do, but let's have another conversation later. I'd really like to help in these areas. Does that ever come up for you?
Mm-hmm.
And oddly enough, we're very walkie-talkie style when we do texting or that kind of thing. And you're allowed to politely interrupt. Like you and I are talking, not over each other, but mm-hmm. we can cut each other off.
Yeah.
And in some ways that respects their time. So if they're going down the path of, no, I don't really need this. Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe I didn't explain myself right. Let me back up. This is what we do. I really would like to have some time with you to discuss that. Would that be okay? So the idea of getting to what the guts of what you say is to what they need is a process.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I help you with scripting. And you've done that before too.
Mm-hmm.
The Why Me, Why Now, you have a whole program on that.
Yeah.
And it's critical to know what that is and to get to not what you sell and what your service is, but how it solves that problem for them. And
mm-hmm.
that depends
mm-hmm.
if it's the director, if it's the owner. So in answer to your question, a long answer about language, it depends on who the recipient is and what their problem is, what they're trying to solve.
Yeah, I think so too. And if you would shift in conversation with them, if you're sitting across the desk from them and you would talk to them one way, talk to them that way on the phone. If you were sitting across the desk or a table in a bar from them and you would talk to them a different way, then talk to them that way, right? So you're talking to the person just because it's on the phone doesn't mean it would be any different than you would in person, right?
Yes.
So Sonia said that help working together with phone script sounds amazing, which I totally agree. How do you, is there kind of a format or a formula to the approach that you have when you create a script? And, just remind me about script after that.
Okay,
so answer that question rather than the second question. So what's your approach to writing a script? What do people need to hear? So we already said, here's who I am, here's what I want.
Right.
Then what?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, and I have a little handout here. I do script writing
mm-hmm.
seminars. And so there's sort of the intros to quickly identify what you do, the why me, why now, the permission statement, and then qualifying questions.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing what your close is. Is your close to a meeting? Is it to another phone conversation? Is it to what is it that you're trying to achieve from the call?
Right.
And if you want to have a meeting with them, that might be possible, but it might not be, because you haven't given them enough information to have a reason to meet with you. So having that high end of a goal is perhaps not the right idea, but to have another time to talk with them.
So I know that's part of what you do when you sit down with clients, is work out what's the path or the methodology, right? Mm-hmm. And I think this is part of the sales process in general, is people go, the analogy I use is that people are like, when they're dating, they wouldn't think of walking up to a stranger on the street and sticking their tongue down their throat, right? You go on a date, you get to know people, maybe have a kiss.
And then you do that.
Yeah, and then you do that, right? And typically, not everybody, and I'm not judging, but typically you don't jump into bed, like right on after the first lunch or whatever. You get to know them, you develop rapport, you create some relationship, and then you increase the level of intimacy as you go along, proportionate to understanding who they are and what they need, and if there's a fit for you. So likewise in the sales process, there's this development of intimacy, the development of understanding what they need and want, and is there a fit before you go sticking your tongue down their throat. And the equivalent thereof in sales, which is often, here, let me sell you something right away. So we don't want to do that. We want to make it really more about them.
Yes.
What do they need?
What do they need?
And what's the next step in that process?
There, we just talked over each other. So yes. That's perfect. That's what I wanted to illustrate. One of the things in your question was, what are 3 tips that people can have? So I brought a prop. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Are we ready?
Go for it.
Okay, what do you see? I don't know what you see. Yes. So it's a mirror. Okay, everybody can see it. So before picking up the phone, if you look at your reflection, your face will smile. You will smile, and you will sound better when you smile. So that kind of exercises with your mouth so that you can just sound better is one. 2, having a script tool like I showed you helps, because it's a way of falling back into, when I said this before, it sounded good. I'll get back to this one. So it's a loose framework. What's the third one? Commit to the time you're going to do calls. So you and I just said you're going to do the calls, Thursday, 1 to 4? Is that what you just said? I don't remember. So sticking with it and having an accountability buddy and doing it anyway. Just get up, make the call, make another call, don't consider it as a failure. It's a process. There's another thing I really wanted to say. When people say no, it's about them. It's not about you. So maybe your approach could have been improved, but them saying no is their business. So it's really important to detach from that. You can try different techniques, but at the end of the day, if they don't want to understand, if they're busy and they're saying no, it really has nothing to do with you. You might be able to influence it in another time or from another perspective, but the world's plentiful. There's a lot of people who want to do business with you, a lot. So the people who are tough, it's okay. Yeah. If you might have said something wrong, it's okay. There's another person. There's lots of people.
Next.
Exactly. There's an expression that if you call 100 people and you've got 90 no's, that means you're 10 close. Like you're closer to a yes. Yeah. Like 1 no is closer to, because statistically speaking, out of 100 calls, you would get maybe 8 to 10 that say yes, send me an email, and maybe 1 or 2 that you could close.
Right.
So it's usually a volume. You've got to keep going because you might not have the right market, wrong message, wrong timing, and but it'll work. It'll work.
Yeah, it's a testing process. And here's the thing. So how many of you just might have heard that 100
100 calls. How's that feeling? 5 hours.
Yeah, 100 calls, 5 hours, and I might get 1 client, right?
Yes.
And how many of you just went, well, that's way too much work. Okay, so as Aura just said, she spent about 4 hours procrastinating calling, and then about 40 minutes to actually get through the call. So totally. Yes. And how long do you spend? So that would be 5 hours to acquire a client. How long do you spend to acquire the last client you had? And by the way, that's 1 client. You might get a bunch of them, and you're probably going to, different things, like if you're inviting to an event or something, your close ratio might be higher. If you're giving them a lead magnet, there's a variety of different kinds of callings that's going to have a different conversion rate. But even still, if you 5 hours, 1 client, what's the acquisition cost of that client, and compare it to all of the other things that you do and how much time you actually spend on it. Because we say, oh, well, I sent a Facebook ad and I got a client. Yeah, no. You developed all of your Infusionsoft and all your campaigns and whatever else you've got tied into that Facebook ad campaign, plus the money, plus the time to create it and test it and so forth and so on. So,
one of the things Sonia asked was there any fun campaigns?
Yeah.
So, I'm doing a few, but one of them is Javelin Technologies. They do 3D printers.
Yeah.
And so we're calling different engineering companies across Canada for attendance to the event of SolidWorks new product launch. So I find that fun. I have a whole, sort of seminar on putting bums in seats, how to attract people to a seminar.
Yeah.
So that they feel invited to a party, essentially.
Oh, great.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's
I love that.
it's fun.
Okay, awesome. And yeah, Sonia, really good point. 8 to 10 leads out of 100, the web's less than 1% conversion. And
thanks for the math.
In many, many cases, way less than that, depending on how you're using that reach out. So have you done any other campaigns or had any other calls that were really weird, just weird and unusual, and you kind of went, well, that's one for the books. Come on, in 20 years, you must have had someone who, said, so what are you wearing? Or something like that.
Oh, well, I'll put this as interesting because I find them all very interesting. Well, no, okay. So one did it's a certain kind of coil tubing coil system for refrigeration. Yeah. So I'll say if sort of like if people are producing sort of milk or precious or perishable items, liquids, they need to go on this refrigeration coil before it goes to packaging. Because if it goes too quickly, it doesn't. There's sort of it's a cooling system to cool it down slowly. Okay. So that's one that I found really unique and interesting and obscure. One of the other ones was calling. This was really wonderful. It was an evening campaign, and it was to people who had purchased tickets for a boudoir photography. And so they hadn't redeemed their coupon from a year or two ago. So the client gave me a data list from years past just to honor it. And some people had, they had cancer. They didn't want to have photo shoots, or they had gained weight and they didn't feel good about themselves, or it was a gift from someone who they're no longer with. And so it was wonderful to do that call and say, do it anyway. Yeah. You're beautiful. We want a photo of you, And so that was a beautiful campaign to do, and to women.
Yeah.
Right? So.
And you would be so good at that. You'd be so good at encouraging them and just spontaneously saying, oh, no, that objection doesn't count. You should come. I love it.
Are there any other questions from anyone?
I think that was the last one, but let me just go back and check.
Yeah, thanks for joining.
Yeah, absolutely. Here, let me scroll down a bit. Okay, and I just really want to kind of come back to and highlight that whole thing about procrastinating on the calling, because I think most of us, especially nowadays with texts and emails and all of the electronic stuff, Facebook and so forth that we hide behind, we really have lost touch with actually connecting with people live. So either in person or on the phone. And I think we now think phones are just for texting and photos and playing video games, and not for actually phoning people. So I'm really glad you're here, and I'm glad you brought this up because there's so many things you can do with phone. So just to wrap up, I want you to just say all of the various things that you've done besides just pre-sales.
Before you brought something up I really found important. When I phoned from my cell phone to a prospect, sometimes they don't pick up the phone, but they'll call me back or they'll text me, what do you want? So I think that's an important element. If you call from your cell phone, leave yourself the room for them to return your call.
Oh, okay,
so
cool.
That's effective too.
Because they don't recognize that number?
They don't recognize the number.
Okay.
Or they're on the phone.
Cool. Just a really quick thing. Do you ever block your number? Do that number not identified thing or not?
The *67? Not usually. I usually use a dedicated number so they can call back.
Yeah, because for me, I tend not to pick up calls that are blocked. So
that's fair.
So don't do that.
Don't do that. If you can use that as just a business phone, so long as other people aren't picking it up, going, "Yo, Pizza Hut."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you want to be professional about this. Okay, so there's just to wrap up really quickly. What are all the various ways people can use a phone to help grow their business besides calling to say, I want to sell you something. So what are some of the various things you've done campaigns for?
So I don't think I can do that quickly. I really don't think I can do that quickly. I just find it a tool in any way. Referral letters, I'd like a reference from your testimonial.
Oh, okay. So I wouldn't have thought of that, asking for referrals and testimonials.
Sometimes when I'm not motivated and I want to, get back into calling, my friend Sonia recommended to me, why don't you call people who already like doing business with you? So calling my existing clients who I like and just saying, hi, how are you doing?
Okay. So kind of a customer service
follow-up.
Yeah. So what kinds of research have you done?
So it was for I'm trying to remember the company. It was like a life insurance company to see who had seen their ads.
Oh, okay.
And
so following up on advertising.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool. So making sure that your other marketing is being effective. Okay. And in terms of lead generation, so you mentioned filling events, booking appointments. What other kinds of things in terms of lead generations?
Well, most people want customers.
Yeah.
So,
but in what way? So like, for instance, if I give you that stack of cards from a networking event, what are we going to call them about?
So if I understand correctly, you offer coaching services one-on-one, right?
Yep.
And you have a package that you offer for that.
Yep.
So, I understand you've met Jannette at this function. Just want to get that right. I don't know if you remember her. She's hard to miss. She's got the red hair. It's amazing. So the reason I'm calling, if now's an okay time to talk, is to see if I can set up a 30-minute meeting with her to talk about your business and how she can help you, thrive in some of these areas. Do you mind if I ask you, which areas are you looking at improving?
Okay.
So then book a meeting.
Okay, cool. So you do some kind of what I'll call pre-sales, where you poke the pain and see if there's a need and qualify.
And
so some qualifying, pre-qualifying.
Exactly.
Cool. I love Aura's summary here. Love having a rough outline script that maintains authenticity. Getting an accountability partner to stop procrastinating. Yes. Don't do the full sales pitch on the initial call. Absolutely. But rather use it to book an opportunity for that conversation. Yeah, I think we really do try and close way too prematurely, and it's not good. We wouldn't want them to do that, so don't do it to them.
And it is hard to do. It's very hard to do alone. I mean, two of the people who have worked for me for the last 5 to 7 years, they are a team. So they're on the phone every day calling for different campaigns, Judy and Mark, and they talk with each other. So they have each other as that. So, there's no need to do it alone. You could just find another business owner and go at it. So
I love that.
Would you like to hear my offer for today?
Okay, sure. What's your offer for today? I was just going to say, so how can we find you? Thanks for asking.
So my website is coldcallingco.com. And what I'm offering today till the end of the month, which is
3 days,
is coaching sessions, 3 coaching sessions of 3 hours each, either at your home or mine or audio, video, and 10 hours of support within a 3-week period. Guess how much?
I don't know. How much is that?
3 easy payments of $300.
Okay, cool. So 3 90-minute sessions, right?
Yes.
And
you got them 90. Okay, I'll do 90. I was thinking 60, but I'll do 90.
No, 60, 60.
No, it's 3 hours.
Okay.
It's not 90. It's 3 hours.
Oh, 3 hours.
Because you're going to be on the phone doing 50 calls in 3 hours, 3 times. So 150 calls at least with me. And then on your own, you'll get through 300 records. You'll get 30 leads. You'll get 3 clients. Promise.
Okay, there you go. So that sounds like a really good deal. You should take her up on that. Okay, so how can they get in touch with you?
Veronica at coldcallingco.com.
Okay, and so coldcallingco.com. Veronica at coldcallingco.com. And you can also IM her on the Bodacity's Action Hero groups here. And if you have additional questions, if you watch this this video later and you've got questions, put them in the thread below this video, and then Veronica will check back in periodically and answer those questions as well.
And thank you very much, Sonia and Dee, for joining me live. Thank you for all my friends.
And Nora. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
And there might have been new people, but we can only see 3 at a time on here. So I think that's everybody. So if we missed anyone, sorry about that, because we can't see both Facebook and the other one live, but I think we got everybody.
Yes.
So if you've got any questions, like I said, put them into the thread below the video, and Veronica will check back in and provide some answers. And thank you for showing up. Thank you for driving all the way here, my friend. Oh,
love you.
And such a big topic, so important. Make the phone your friend. Get on the freaking phone. And get someone
on the freaking phone?
Yeah, and get someone to help you get on the freaking phone, because you know you avoid it. So do I. And it really does impede our business and our ability to serve. Story. As I die here at the end. So thanks and bye. Oh dear.
Bye. Give me a call. Call me. Thank you.
Thanks everybody. Bye.
Oh no.